Hi everybody! Today I'm going to show you how to make slime. That's right, the kind that they used to use on Nickelodeon, or the kind they still use on Nickelodeon, that they would use on, you can't do that on television, Double Dare, you name it, whatever the show is. So anyway, this is a completely different recipe from everything else you've seen on the interwebs. It's incredibly cheap to make and very easy. It just does take some time, not really as far as labor is concerned, but really just in cooling, because you do have to kind of cook it. So pretty much all this is instant mashed potatoes, and you're going to water it down real good. Now this this is Market Pantry brand, this is Target house brand if you will. And what's nice is you can get a box like this. This happens to be 28 ounces, okay? And you can get this box for about $3, maybe $3.50, not even. And they even show you right here how to make the entire package, which is exactly what you're going to do. So you're going to need approximately 28 ounces of instant mashed potatoes for one pot. Now, we're having a double sliming today, so I'm making two, but they'll each go in separate pots. Anyhow, so you'll need about 28 ounces. If you can't find a 28 ounce box or this brand, it really doesn't matter. You can use any brand you like. A lot of times you'll find them in about a 13.5 ounce box. Just use two of those to make one pot. It'll work fine. So this says that we're going to need 13.5 cups of water. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the pots I have here, and I'll show you what's involved. It's very simple. Okay, 13.5 cups of water in each pot, and we're just going to light these up, and there we are. You're going to leave that until it hits a full boil. I'm making two, like I said, but you can just make one. It's all the same thing. So just make sure that water is boiling fully, and then we'll go on to the next step once that happens. Now obviously it should go without saying that you're going to need to find a pot that is large enough to do this. I think this is about a 20 quart pot, and that should be plenty. And the reason why, even though you're only putting about 13.5 cups of water in there, you're going to add more, and a lot more. Probably about another 8 to even 12 cups on top of that, because you need to get it to the right consistency that you're going to need. And of course you're also going to need food coloring. But don't wash the pots while they're on the boil, because then they never will. So anyway, I'm going to leave the room and I'll be back in a jiffy and they'll be boiling then. I also want to mention that mashed potatoes, of course, traditionally would have milk and butter and salt and some other stuff like that. Leave out the milk, leave out the butter. You're not going to need it. There's no sense in wasting it. And for those of you who are going to say, oh, but these could be, you know, this could be feeding people. This is good food you're wasting. This is not food, people. Make real mashed potatoes. This is not food. So we're just wasting some stuff. Not a big deal. Anyhow, we're just about ready here, so I'm going to get everything all together and I'll show you how this works. Okay, that's about boiling enough. And now simply what you do is what you're going to do later. Dump. And just dump the whole thing in, just like that. And of course what you're going to see, you can also shut the heat off at this point. I'll take care of my other one in a minute. And now you're going to stir. By the way, you need a big hefty spoon like this. Your typical wooden spoon is not going to cut it, because you'll end up breaking it, because it's going to get really thick pretty quick, and then you have to add more water. So basically what you're trying to do at this point is to get all of these potato flakes saturated, and it looks like really lumpy, really horrible mashed potatoes. So now it's time to add some more water. So I'll get that ready and I'll show you how that all works. Okay, here is 4 more cups of water. So we'll put that in. And now of course you're going to see that the water is floating on the top. So now you got to stir it. And it looks like it does not want to cooperate. You end up with these really lumpy looking, horrible looking mashed potatoes. But when you stir, you'll notice it's looking a lot smoother than it was. But that's not slime. That's still sort of mashed potatoes. So we are going to need to add some more water. So I'm going to add another 4 cups to that. So let me get that here. Okay, there's about another 4 cups. So on top of the 13.5 cups you started with, and now of course you can see why you need a big pot. Now we're going to stir this together. And it'll get gloopy and terrible like that. And it's going to get really lumpy. Now you can just keep stirring, and the lumps will go away. You do want to try to break them up with a spoon if you can. This is looking better, but still not there, of course. So you're going to keep stirring here and let that sit. Once you get it kind of together, let it sit for a while, and chances are you'll probably need to add some more water on top of that. So I'm going to get my other pot going over here, and I'll show you what else we do after that. Okay, as you can see, still ain't going to cut it. That doesn't look like slime. So we add yet some more water. Now I have about another 4 cups here. I'm going to add about 2 to start with. A little more. And now we're going to stir that and see where that brings us. That's getting a little nicer. Alright, now sometimes at this point what I like to do is I like to get the little hand blender, if you have one of these. One of these guys here. You can use one of these, and I just keep it next to the stove ready to go for whenever I need it, so I can just go ahead and plunge that in there, but I'll use that in a little bit. For right now I'm just going to keep stirring it, and we'll see how that ends up for us here. Might have to add some more water. See, the big problem here are these big lumps, because inside of that, and do not touch this stuff because it is molten lava hot and you will get burned. If you go ahead and break those open, there's dry potato flakes in there still. And the goal here, of course, is to get everything fully saturated in a nice homogeneous mixture. So, as you can see, as I stir here, this is starting to look a lot nicer. It's starting to get that pourability almost at this point. You can see on the outside where the water doesn't really incorporate, that's getting to be maybe still a little thick, but about where we want it. So I'm going to go ahead and keep stirring this for a bit, and we'll be back in just a moment. Okay, we're at the point now where we're getting pretty close, and this is really where you have to use your own judgment as far as how thick or thin you want the slime to be. You want it to be able to pour, and that certainly will pour. If it falls off the spoon, it's going to be able to pour out of the pot. In fact, if I take the pot and tilt it, it kind of moves, but it's still sort of one big mass, so it is going to need some more water. So we'll do about another 2 cups. You don't want to make it too thin because you've already dumped the entire box of the instant potatoes in here. And now it gets kind of silky. Sometimes you'll also get nice pieces of the cardboard box in there, but at this point who cares, because you're not really going to be eating it. So you can fish those out if you want, but it's really not going to matter in the end. So I'm going to stir this, and you see how it kind of got like silky like that. I'm going to go ahead and stir this for a while, and I'll show you what we end up with. Okay, so here we are after some more stirring, And oh yeah, that's got that nice pouring ability, ploppage, whatever you want to call it. Right there is where you want it. Again, don't touch this because it is still very, very hot. But you're going to say, but I don't want mashed potatoes looking slime. You're right. So traditionally, it's green. Here's just some plain old food coloring you can find at the store. This is going to take quite a bit because you have an entire mass here. So we're going to start with 10 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to stir that. And immediately you're going to see this and you're going to say, oh, there's no way that's going to be enough. And you might very well be right. It really all depends on what color you want it. Of course, you can put any color you want in here. I just did green for authenticity. But we're going to keep stirring this here. And you can see it's starting to color everything. It will take quite a bit of stirring, so you are going to need those nice arms of steel to get this done. And as you stir, you'll see that you're going to keep pulling up more white bits. So you got to kind of get this all mixed together there. So let me keep on mixing this here, and I'll show you what color we end up with, and then you can adjust from there. Okay, that's about what you end up with 10 drops. Let's do 10 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we'll see where that brings us. Okay, that's about what you end up with there after 20 drops of food coloring. Another thing that I like to add to this, and I'm not really sure why, but I've done it traditionally this way each time and never had a problem since, so I'll continue to do it this way, is just to add some vegetable oil. Not a lot, maybe, a gurgle or so. That's probably about good right there. And just mix that in, and that'll kind of give it a silky sheen to it. And I think the oil actually helps it to ultimately wash out a little bit easier. You can see how nice that got right there with the oil. But again, you have to stir this and mix it in really, really, really well. So let me mix one more time here, and I'll show you the finished product. Well, there you are, ladies and gentlemen, the finished product. There is your green slime. Now, of course, if you don't tell anybody what it is, they'll just think it's slime. And of course, that was the entire secret for many years with Nickelodeon. So basically what we have here is a very watery, kind of mashed potato-y type sort of thing. It sort of tastes like mashed potatoes. If you want, you can add a little salt and pepper to it. You're not really going to be eating it, because you should know what to do with this stuff once it's made. And the main thing and the most important thing that you must do here is leave this to cool, because again, this is very, very hot, and you have an entire pot worth here, and that retains the heat. So what you're going to want to do is come back and stir this about every 15-20 minutes, maybe half hour. You can add a little bit more water if you need, to make it a little thinner if need be, because it will dry out in time. And that's pretty much it, but you must let this cool. It takes typically about 3 hours for a pot of this size and a batch of this size to cool down to where it's not really going to burn you. It might still be a little bit warm, which is kind of nice, because when it's really cold, it's not all that nice. So if you leave it a little warm, that's fine. And if you're not sure, you know, what you'll do, of course, is you'll just touch it here and you'll say, oh, that doesn't seem too hot. Okay, that should be fine. But other parts of your body are not as sensitive, or actually are more sensitive, I should say, to heat. So you'll end up burning yourself if you don't let this cool thoroughly. Another thing is it cools from the top down. So that means you might feel it just like I did, and say, oh, okay, that's ready, and then the victim will end up getting burned, and then that's not going to be a good thing. So what you want to do is test the slime out. Go ahead and take your hand, When do you ever get to do this in the kitchen? Just plunge it right in there. I'm not going to because this is still way too hot. And feel all the way down at the bottom. And if it feels okay down there, then it's probably about ready to use. Now again, if you're not entirely sure about what to do with this once it's made and once it's cooled, that will be in an upcoming video. In the meantime, you may be thinking, okay, so after this happens, what do I do about the cleanup? Well, the answer is very simple as far as the cleanup goes. Water. It'll take care of it. And what's going to end up happening is anything that's left over, you should do this outside. That should go without saying, but you do never know. So do this outside, please, just to aid in the cleanup. The hose is going to be a great asset to you. The hose will generally take care of the victim, and then they'll be just about right. You can go ahead and get them a bar of soap and shampoo if you want, but typically I found that if you don't actually shampoo this stuff out of your hair, but as long as it's washed out thoroughly, strangely enough, your hair will be left very, very, very soft afterwards. So it acts as a conditioner, I guess. But make sure that you rinse it thoroughly out, because anything that's left behind is going to re-harden into potato flakes and even potato chips if you have nice thin layers. So that's going to turn really hard and really crunchy, and it'll grab on tenaciously to anything. So make sure you do rinse and wash everything thoroughly, just with water. You don't have to go crazy here. And if you do this outside, which I again stress that you should do it. You can do it right on the lawn, but bear in mind that that is going to end up sitting there for quite some time. It will go away. It'll take several weeks. It will eventually absorb into the ground, and then everything is gone. But anywhere you walk over in that area, you'll be walking and all of a sudden you'll just go squish, and you'd be, that was a patch of slime. As much as you wash it away with the hose, for some reason it just likes to hold on to more water and hold on to more water and hold on to more water. So you're best actually left leaving it to dry out for some time in the sun. Wash away as much as you can with the hose after the event, and then just leave it. And eventually in time, like I said, it will go away. I thank you very much for watching this very long, drawn-out, long-winded video, but I hope this will be useful for a lot of you. I know a lot of people, including Nickelodeon, generally do not dispel their slime recipes, but this is the recipe that I've been using. It ends up looking entirely convincing, and it's relatively cheap to make for about $3 something for the box. For a whole big pot like that, you really can't beat it. And by the way, if you're going to cheap out here and just say, oh, I'll just get the 13.5 ounce box or whatever you can find and I'll just do one of them, you'll end up with half the amount, and you're going to wish you did the amount that I did. It's worse to have too little than to have too much. So make sure you make enough or too much. Thanks again for watching. Make sure you go ahead and click like. Make sure you click subscribe. And I thank you again for watching. Take care. You'll see a video of what happens with this stuff later on. Bye-bye.